Hello and welcome to Semicraft Gaming First Looks, your premier destination for coverage on Steam's new releases. I'm Semicraft and today we're taking a look at Omen Exitio Plague, which from what I understand is some sort of like adventure book sort of game, so let's take a look. Slot one, sure. Ooh. This might get a bit disturbing potentially, I'm not certain, I haven't played it before. But that's certainly some disturbing imagery. It's about a plague, so yeah. The rigging rustling in the wind, and the swaying waves accompany you as you walk on the ship's deck. A rocking that gives off a slight sense of nausea, the deck's wood groaning faintly with your every step, as if something inside it wants to scream, but it's too weak to do so. A journey, a long journey. Your ship is headed for Zanzibar. How long have you been at sea? You cannot even remember. The days follow one another, never changing. It feels like living in an endless haze, dazed and captured by the outline of those unknown waters. But all in all, you don't mind the feeling. After all, you are here to forget. Your name is Jake Huntington. You are a doctor, a researcher, or at least you were proud to be one before your entire world crumbled upon you. You've always fought to save people's lives, but now you face a different battle, where you have to kill. Such is the irony of fate. You enlisted to escape from yourself, and above all from the pain. You look out to the sea, wondering whether the ship could carry you far enough away. Reality seems suspended during sea travel, as time loses all meaning and extends to infinity, just like the blue expanse spreading right in front of you. Day after day, you have been watching the horizon, ahead bobbing up and down, when... Jake, remind me again why we're here. It feels like all this water has wiped my memories. It is Ed O'Bannon, speaking a blonde Irishman. Can I do an Irish accent? I don't know. He can't be much older than 16, and just like every other evening, he's had a drop too much. He blames the long voyage for his memory lapses. Speak with Ed or ignore him? We'll just ignore him. He's drunk anyways, right? Leave me alone, Ed. We'll talk when you've sobered up. Sing with me, Jake, just for tonight. With these words, you leave Ed to his goddamned Irish songs, and you head below deck. It's time to sleep. You're lying in your bunk, and just like every night for almost a year, you're having a hard time falling asleep. You toss and turn, your sweat soaking the sheets until... Jake, are you asleep? It's Ryan Vespucci, the man in the bunk next to yours. He is the assistant cook. Hailing from Italy, suddenly you remember that tomorrow it's your turn in the ship's mess. I'll speak with him. What is it, Ryan? I left you a list of provisions we need in the galley tomorrow. I wanted to talk to you about something else as well. I've been hearing rumors among the soldiers, but maybe we should discuss the matters tomorrow. Good night, Jake. The dorm is filled with heavy breathing and loud snoring of your comrades. Apparently everyone is sleeping sadly, except for you. Turning over in your bed, you find under your pillow the note Ryan left you. We'll read it now. The candlelight flickers in the dark, and the words come to life and dance before your eyes, while your pupils get used to the faint light of the wavering flame. Jake, you think you joined the army to atone for your sins, but you're mistaken. You're not headed for Zanzibar by chance. What you will see over there will change your outlook so much that you will turn to your old profession again. During this journey, you will find out you have a friend. Well, it's not Ryan's list. You wonder whether it's just an odd prank by your comrades, but it seems too clever for them. While you consider several theories, you finally slip into a slumber, rocked by the waves. It won't be long until the landing, but this doesn't mean you can escape kitchen duty. Ryan gives you a bag of potatoes to peel, then he starts working on a bunch of carrots, slicing them with such skill and accuracy you have never seen, at least not before now. So wishes are passed. Well, that's what wishes. Are you asking me if I joined the army out of passion? Well, I wouldn't say so, but the pay is good and the meals are guaranteed. Anyway, it doesn't seem to be you're here out of passion either. Is that so obvious? Don't worry, apart from some fancy officers, I guess few people are here just for fun. Shouts coming from the deck stop your chatting. Land ahoy! You hurry your wants to carry out your task before landing. Or you want to carry out your task before landing again. Zanzibar port is a racket. Sailors yell in a wide variety of accents while goods are unloaded onto the docks, piling up in small mountains of crates. You are on the deck observing the slowly approaching shapes of Stone Town. Soon, at last, you will set foot on solid ground again. You are granted some free time, so you treat yourself to a stroll around town. You're walking along the quay when a beggar approaches you. He is wearing a rugged tunic whose hood hides his face. He reeks and walks with a limp, leaning on a stick. Gesturing, he asks you for charity, even though you don't really understand what he's saying. I'll give some alms, sure. What do you diary entry? Say we've got a diary on top of us? Sheesh. You hand out a coin to the beggar, and as he reaches out to grab it, you notice a tattoo on his inner wrist. You only get a glimpse of it, but it strikes you for its peculiarity. Its simple shape reminds you of an eye. The beggar tries to get your attention, and he follows you. He grabs your shirt, forcing you to stop. He slips his hand into your pocket, and then he suddenly starts running. His apparent disability has gone. He is no longer limping. Well, I'm not going to get pickpocketed and do nothing about it. We'll give chase. The beggar runs along the dock as nimbly as an acrobat. When two sailors carrying some bulky crates pop out in front of him, he jumps over them as easily as if he were clearing simple stair steps. The sailor stops to yell at him, dropping the crates and blocking your path. We'll just go around. You swerve right and sprint past the obstacle, ignoring the men and running straight towards the beggar. When the thief realizes you are still chasing him, he jumps onto one of the small boats moored in a row in the harbor. He hops effortlessly from one to the next, in spite of their rolling, easily getting away. We'll keep going. We'll jump. Come on. Working up the courage, you continue the chase, hopping on the moored boats. You manage to keep your balance, but after a couple of rather hasty jumps, you have to stop and slow your running, or you'll fall into the water. The thief, however, has landed on an occupied boat, and the fisherman on board has caught him by the foot in a bid to stop him. You could take advantage of that to catch up with him. We'll be cautious here. You see the beggar wiggling out of the fisherman's hold and hitting him square in the face with a punch that sends him flying into the water, missing one tooth. Moving cautiously, you detect a different path from the fugitive's one. Instead of chasing him, you move to a boat next to you. The shortcut you've taken lets you skip a couple of boats. You can reach him faster this way and pop up just in front of him. The man takes a leap to get back on the dock, but you manage to catch him mid-flight. You both fall into the water. The man tries to resist, and he hits you, but he seems to have trouble floating. You manage to get back what was stolen from you, the message which was in your pockets. It's time for the gun test. Smith examines you quickly with glances of gravity, while a soldier delivers you a rifle. The task is easy. You need to hit the targets. Confident, shoot without overthinking. Disciplined, before shooting, you check every part of the rifle to ensure it works perfectly. Thoughtful, you shoot with your rifle, then you encourage O'Bannon to imitate you, trying to be enough convincing or calm. You are nervous and your hands are shaking. You try to relax before shooting. I say we go disciplined. We will be by the book in this shooting here. Before posting, you carefully check the rifle for anomalies. Very good, Huntington. You always must check your rifle before shooting. A jammed weapon in battle could mean death, or even blow up in your face. Your shot gets very near the center of the targets. Great shot, Huntington. The pro-British Sultan, Hamad bin Thwani, ruler of Zanzibar, died on the day of your arrival on the island. And Khalid, an illegitimate ruler, has since taken his place. An ultimatum has been sent to Khalid, requesting him to advocate peacefully. That ultimatum will expire tomorrow morning. Really? So how's our character sheets looking? Good amount of observation medicine. We have points to allocate to something else potentially. I'm not sure what to do yet though. Okay guys, before I continue here, I'll just say I had to split up the recording sessions, and I got sick in the interim, so if my voice sounds a bit weird now, that would be why. Anyways, your squadron is lined up in the courtyard of the headquarters. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, but this time everyone is wide awake. You're ready to set off for the Sultan's palace. Looking around, you can see the anxiety in the faces of your fellow soldiers. The time given for the ultimatum is almost up. The British force is composed of some ships and around 1,000 men, but the Sultan's army should not be underestimated. You lead your group running close to the palace walls and sliding as thin shadows in the daylight. You place yourselves near the shore, hiding behind the dunes, where your backs barely skin into the sand, and your watchful eyes can have a whole view of the dock. All around you, the sound of the cannons echo from the Allied ships, which are wiping out the opponents. I can observe, lean out of the sandy mound, checking the situation around, or command, encourage your men. We'll observe for now. Success. Got 4 experience points. With a rapid glance, you realize most of the Sultan artillery has been neutralized, and the English ships bombarded the shores, annihilating any resistance. Many locals are dead, and you watch as the injured ones are being carried away in the distance. Not far from the dock, you see the only enemy ship sinking, mirroring the situation on the land. The whole situation seems to favor the British army, so you decide to retreat to the palace gardens. This way you can support your allies in the battle, almost at its edge. You fell behind. The rest of the troop distanced you. You sped up to reach them when an elegant dressed man approaches you on the streets. The stranger takes his hat off in greeting, and he speaks to you with a German accent. Mr. Huntington, may I borrow some of your time? I can't do German accents. I cannot do accents. You're confused. You've never seen this man as far as you recall, or have heard of. You stop yourself on the street, staring at him without spelling a single word, while the crowd goes around you, too, as if they were trying to avoid the embarrassment and the uncertainty perceived in your surroundings. Finally, your mind manages to find a concrete answer, while your mysterious interlocutor waits with great patience, with his hat held to his chest. Gracious or surly? I'll be gracious. Excuse me, do we know each other? Forgive my rudeness. My name is Maya. Nice to meet you in person finally. He keeps smiling at you, barely bending his head in sign of respect, almost waiting for your next doubt, which isn't late to come, on the tips of your lips. The pleasure is mine, Mr. Meyer. May I ask you, how do you know my name? You see, Mr. Huntington, I am here on behalf of a group of people who deals with public health. The gentleman group I belong to are very keen on what happens around them, and in the whole world, we obviously know for you for your reputation. What reputation? You are just one of the many doctors in London, and you are not sure whether even your neighbors could recognize you. Meyer's German accent stops the flow of your thoughts. I hope to talk with you, if you have time, of course. I know more than you think, Huntington. I know you're a determined man who soon you're going to face the truth of what I am talking about. By the time you witness what this disease can do, I will be back, and I know you will have realized how serious this situation is. One more revelation that shocks you. You start feeling very uncomfortable, and nausea attacks you, making you unable to answer or do anything apart from shaking your hands. Think about it, Mr. Huntington. We are willing to offer everything you need to help you change the destiny of the whole world. The man waves you goodbye without granting you the chance to reply, vanishing into the crowd like a ghost. This meeting has left you pensive and distraught. It seems Meyer wants your collaboration, offering you his help, yet there's something about him you're not convinced of. Too many secrets and oddities. You enlisted to forget Helen, and the illness which brought her away. But your efforts have been totally useless. Your wife would have never wanted you to quit your job, yet not being able to save her destroyed your self-confidence and left you consumed by doubt and guilt. Now it seems the past is trying to reach back at you in any way. The message... You'd like to ask Meyer whether he sent that warning. You regret not to have thought of it before. It's too late now. The man has already disappeared. I just want to check my character sheet, because I've got some points to spend. You can't seem to add any more to medicine or observation. I think a bit of speechcraft would not go amiss. As well as perhaps some agility. Okay, cool. Let's go back. You're back at sea. Since your arrival in Zanzibar, you haven't had a moment of peace. Being moved from a place to place, nonetheless, Helen's image is still engraved in your mind. The grief for her loss has torn you in the guts. You hear her voice echoing in your head. She calls your name, invoking your aid. Jake! Jake! The horrors of your past haven't left you yet, not even on the other side of the world. The stink is unbearable, and force you to cover your nose with your head. Flies grisly dance around the carbonized corpses, flitting here and there like loose cannons. You stare at them stunned, their flesh covered by the remains of a bonfire, muscle exposed to the sparking red firebrand, the carved-up expression swallowed by ashes. It's a pile of death, black smoke, and buzzard bugs. Behind your shoulders, you hear someone approaching with a heavy pace. You recognize that unmistakable sound and turn to meet Captain Smith's look. He's clearly worried, although he tries to hide it from himself and the rest of the troop. All of them gaze at the bonfire, while an eloquent silence falls upon you. Examine or observe? I'm going to examine them. Success. Slowly moving closer, you try to examine the charred area of the corpses. There are no visible wounds, and there's something which makes you think they must have died by a disease. On some of the bodies, you can still see the remainings of blood revolts, probably dropped from the eye sockets. Hemorrhages? This could be the mysterious disease. That's not a good sign. As far as we know, this village should have been outside the contaminated area. It is clear Smith entirely relies on your judgment. Your role in this mission is of primary importance. Alright, so now we go to the map. Okay. So we can explore the North Village, the South Village, or the West Village. The South Village is closest to a river basin, and I know some diseases really like the river basins, so we'll go to the South Village. As you enter the village, you are plunged into an eerie silence. You have a déjà vu, reliving a memory that has come to knock at the door of your reality. It's exactly like the first handful of huts you saw when you came ashore. Empty homes, and the signs of life extinguished in the blink of an eye. You'd almost hear them screaming. No, you're really hearing a voice. Somebody is screaming in the abandoned village. It's Betsarai. Let me go back. Yeah, definitely. You run, moving the branches away from your face, and those you miss scratch at you as if trying to hold you there to share their pain. When you get to the interpreter, he is in shock. He's upset, babbling, his eyes wide, gesturing frantically at the forest. Devil! Devil! You cannot understand what he means. Question him. I've got one speechcraft, maybe it's enough. Failure. But Betsarai, look at me. Look at me. I said, what did you see? Tell me what you've seen. You're harsh, even too much. You grab him by the shoulders and shake him, not too hard, but now Betsarai is panicking. He isn't even speaking English anymore, instead murmuring frantically in his own language, his eyes wild, his body shaking with terror. You wonder what he could have seen. What could have terrified him to the point of paralysis and convulsed? Incomprehensible stammering? You don't get to question him further. A figure suddenly appears out of nowhere and attacks you. It's a fair-skinned man, shouting incoherent words. In an instant he throws you to the ground and wraps his hands around your neck. Your vision grows dim and small flashes seem to lure you into unconsciousness, your pupils filling with wisps. You know you're about to lose consciousness as you struggle to breathe. His bloodshot eyes, in the grip of madness, are flexed on you. The man gnashes his teeth like an animal, hard enough to hear it. Help or hit? I only have one fighting, so I don't think that would help much. I'll call for help. You desperately struggle to writhe free from his hold, but you lack the strength to successfully oppose your foe. You try to scream, and the man reacts by tightening his hold on your neck. Your cries die in a choked rasp, and the reality surrounding you starts to fade away, fogged up and liquid. You're about to lose consciousness again when suddenly your enemy freezes, caught in a single moment in time by Vespucci's bayonet, now piercing his body from behind, right through his spine. Blood drips from the madman's mouth, and he stares at you wild-eyed, one last before crumbling upon you, lifeless. And after a few minutes of analysis, you're ready to give your diagnosis. You explain to your comrades that you believe the case is a fever, most likely a malaric type. The only thing that doesn't make sense are those wounds, utterly foreign to malaria or indeed any known disease. On the man's body, you observe lesions and small bleeding sores. You turn the stranger's corpse on his front and inspect his back as well as his neck. There you discover more of those wounds, marring his skin, blood continuously flowing from them. On his nape, you see something unusual. They look like bug bites, but they are symmetrical, as if they were left there deliberately in a precise order. They remind you of a diamond, with a circle inscribed within. Nothing could be less natural than this. In the meantime, Smith, Betsari, and the other men of the squadron have joined you. The interpreter is still shaken by his previous experience and keeps his distance from the German, while Smith turns to you with a cross-eyed expression. We found the surviving villagers. The disease has spread to this place too. They say that the white man belongs to a larger group who abandoned him around here some days ago. You're troubled. This expedition is turning into an endless nightmare. Too many questions crowd your mind at the moment. For a start, what was that man doing in the village? Was it happenstance, or perhaps somebody set up a deliberate strategy? Okay, alright guys. That's where we're going to have to end this first look at, I think, Omen Exitio, the Plague or something? Omen Exitio Plague? Alright, so what do I think of it? So this is kind of going along the lines of kind of your sort of game book sort of thing. And as far as that goes, I will say it's quite compelling. I'm not certain exactly how linear it's going to end up. I mean, we're getting a choice of the order to explore the villages, but it's seeming like we're going to explore all the villages. The character sheets, there's enough stats and stuff to make things interesting. And I do think that so far it seems fine. Cost 20, I see. Okay. And the scenario is quite interesting, which is quite important for something that's this narratively driven. I believe the game costs $12 on Steam, and I will say, if this is the sort of thing you would go for, if you kind of like these sort of choose-your-own-adventure sort of books, this one definitely seems to be a compelling story with some decent gameplay to go along with it, kind of building up your character with what stats you think are going to be the most helpful. And yeah, so I'd say I'd recommend it. At the price of $12, that's perfectly reasonable for this type of game, and the story it's trying to tell does seem like it's going some interesting places, and the setting itself is quite unique. This is just generic fantasy or something. So yeah, guys, that's my take on Omen Exitio Plague. Make sure we're doing these first looks every day, so be sure to subscribe for more first looks, possibly even of some games similar to this. I also have a Let's Play channel, which I have, which you should probably take a look at. I have played several games fairly similar to this on that channel. And until next time, guys, I've been Lovecraft, and I'll catch you in the next first look. Goodbye.